According to your request, today we're going to talk about one of the most terrifying prisons in the world, Guantanamo Prison, or Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo Bay has been under U.S. control since 1898. The United States leased that piece of land from Cuba, and it is still stationed there because the lease agreement has no end date, and as long as the U.S. continues to pay rent, it remains in control of the area. The U.S. uses this region as a military base, but since 2002, George W. Bush decided to turn it into a prison for terrorists. I think you've probably heard about this prison because it is so famous that almost everyone knows it exists and roughly knows what happens inside. Now let's see what the life of a prisoner there is like. This prison is different from other prisons. In other prisons, prisoners go to jail by court order, but in Guantanamo, prisoners see the court in the eardreams. Those who enter Guantanamo are people who have a 99% chance of never being released. The 1% who are released are either back to their home countries for trial and imprisonment there. The prisoners' clothing in Guantanamo is like in movies, orange. Now let's see what life inside is like. The first problem a Guantanamo prisoner faces is that they cannot sleep comfortably because there is no peace in this prison. Prison guards make the most noise, both day and night. They do not care whether prisoners might be sleeping. Most nights, they come and bang on the cell doors. You should know that Guantanamo is controlled by the U.S. military, and all guards and staff are military personnel. Many of them had the prisoners because their friends or comrades were killed by them. For them, tormenting prisoners is a kind of entertainment. Not because they are ordered to do it, but because they are free in their decisions, and they send people to the place who already carry a personal grudge. That is why it has been turned into a kind of hell for prisoners. At 5 a.m., you are woken up by marching and the U.S. national anthem because it is a military base and all military ceremonies can be heard inside the prison. The cells are single-person cells measuring 2.4 by 1.8 meters. Instead of solid walls, the rooms are covered with metal mesh, meaning that when you are inside your cell, other prisoners can see you, and you can also be seen from the hallway. The structure you see in front of you is the toilet. On your right is ink. There is no shower. You are given one blanket and one sheet. This is not a medieval prison. It is a 21st century prison that is still operating today. In these four walls, there are no human rights, not even basic rights. No journalist is allowed to enter this prison. Bringing a camera inside is severely punished. The only people who can visit are relatives, but not the prisoners' relatives, rather, military family members. After 9/11, when George W. Bush opened this prison, the goal was to gather the terrorists there. Now let's go to the prison cafeteria and see what is going on. I didn't realize that many prisoners don't eat. Most of them refuse food until they die because they believed it is better for them, and the only way they know to commit suicide is by starving themselves. If you want to eat, your meal trolley includes a piece of bread with cheese and an apple or an orange. It seems simple, but many prisoners still refuse it. If you don't eat, they force feed you. There is a special chair. You are taken there, washed, trapped down, and a tube is inserted into your nose. Through tube, liquid food is poured into your throat. In 2013, prisoners set a record because more than 50% of them refused food, and they were force-fed through their noses. Hunger itself is already painful, especially when food is right in front of you every day, but you still refuse to eat it. Imagine what they went through the point where they could not even take a bite. If you refuse food, there is another punishment. They take your blanket, sheet, and even your toothbrush. When prisoners go on an honor strike, their food is left in the cell, and it just stays there, rotting and molding, while they are forced to smell it. If a prisoner behaves well and eats on time without causing problems, they may be allowed to watch television for 1 or 2 hours a day. But that does not mean they can sleep peacefully. The same sleep rules apply. Constant noise until morning. For example, at 3 a.m., something metal is dropped on the ground, creating an explosion-like sound. If you are one of the good prisoners, you may get 2 showers a day. Most of the time, except for mealtimes and a short outdoor break, you must remain inside your cell. This is the life of a prisoner without being hit on the head. meaning a prisoner who doesn't cause trouble. They eat their food properly and don't protest. They are allowed to take a shower, get a bit of fresh air, and if they want, they can take a book from the prison library. In the library of Guantanamo Prison, there are books in all languages, especially Arabic, because most of these prisoners speak Arabic. The food you saw was lunch. Their dinner is amazing. A piece of bread with a banana. That's dinner. The water that comes from the sink in your room is orange-colored. It's not clear why. If you're thirsty, you have to drink it. You have to give up coffee, tea, and soda. These things are only for the staff. Throughout the history of this prison, interesting events have also happened. For example, sometimes a prisoner has been transferred, and when the soldiers at the base in the yard next to the cell are busy with their own ceremonies, a stone or a banana peel has been thrown from above at them. Other prisoners know that those who did such things were never seen again, and it is believed that they most likely have been taken to terrifying underground cells. All kinds of fast food that exist in America also have branches in this base. For example, McDonald's, whose smell spreads through the air, and the employees go and get food for themselves and eat in front of them, while these prisoners have to eat their bread and banana. When these prisoners reach this stage, they have already been tortured and have confessed. The interrogation room is equipped with full medical facilities. The prisoner is tied to a chair, but all medical devices are attached to them, and their heart rate is monitored. This is supposedly for their health, but in reality, it is to control the torture so that their heart does not stop. It is controlled torture without the risk of death, killing not the body, but the personality. So far, no one has come out of there to describe how the torture was. However, a few people who were released for trial in their home countries have described some of what happened there. For example, simulated suffocation. Most of the torture was psychological. They played music and used strange lights to completely break the person's mind. Hanging by the arms for long periods was also used, to the point where blood would not reach the arms and they would become semi-paralyzed. Another story that has come out is that a prisoner urinated on the floor of his cell, and the guards came and laid him on the ground and, along with his clothes, used him like a mop to clean the floor. Many people have protested against this prison and say it should be shut down. Obama had promised to close it, but was unable to do so. Trump said it should never be closed. Currently, about 40 prisoners are held there. Many human rights defenders protest that at least this prison should be transferred to the United States, but the U.S. military does not agree, because they believe U.S. laws would restrict them and they could no longer carry out interrogations or provide such poor food and night disturbances so easily. Even worse, if transferred to the U.S., they would have to go to prison by court order, not by the decision of military officers. They have tried several times to send these prisoners back to their home countries, but their countries have refused. For example, Saudi Arabia has not accepted its prisoner and has said to keep him there. Although these prisoners are terrorists and may have killed hundreds of people and should be punished, do you agree with this kind of punishment? Please leave a comment.